Okay, friends. Well, there you go. Doc South saying hey, and got another video blurb for you. This one, well, I don't know how cheerful it's going to be, but it should be done. It's no, it's funny. It was about, let me think. Oh, probably something like about 1974. I was a lot younger then, and I worked as a boiler maker. Yeah, for a while. Used to climb inside these big boilers and work inside a pipe or a firebox, and in the firebox we'd be setting up fire brick and and this heat resistant cement in the we climb inside the piping of a boiler. Well, you never know what you'd be doing in there. Could be rolling boiler tubes or welding or whatever. You'd be working. And there was one fella I used to work with a lot at our company, a fella named Jackson. Jackson he looked kind of like Humphrey Bogart. I always thought. I'd tell him that, and he just, yeah, sure. And he was just one of these nice Pennsylvania guys that had been around a while, and yeah, he wasn't too bad a boilermaker. He was pretty good at rolling the tubes into the tube sheets and knocking getting the fireboxes just right. He was a good guy, and I always enjoyed working with him. He always had a story, and I remember it was about this time of year. Again, back in the early 70s, exact year, I don't know, but in that neck of the woods. And certainly was early December. Jackson and I were working, I guess, let's say we're working inside a firebox. Again, a firebox being where the fire in a boiler would concentrate. You'd have at your back, there would be this burner, the size of a sewer pipe, bigger, just kind of staring at you. If it came on, you were toast, literally. Of course, we shut off the fuel and severed the pipes to the fuel lines to it before we even thought of going in there. But still, you kind of always were looking over your shoulder. And I don't know. One day again, we're putting some of these really wild bricks together and yakking, and all of a sudden, I remember I was talking to Jackson. I said, "Hey, Jackson, I just realized tomorrow's Pearl Harbor Day. That's the anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor." He says, "Yeah, I know." And he had this great way of talking. I don't know if I can totally duplicate it, but yeah, I know. Like that, yeah. He says, I ought to know. I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, I'll tell you what happened." He says, "Back then, I was in the Navy. In the late 40s, I was on a transport ship." I said, "What, really?" He says, "Yep, and we were in a convoy heading for Pearl." I said, "Oh my God, really?" He says, "Yep, we were heading for Pearl, and I had he says of course I had to interrupt him. I said, "So what'd you do in the Navy?" "Oh my God," he says, "quit interrupting me. I'm trying to tell the story here. I was a meat cutter. I worked in the galley." I said, "Well, that's cool." "Yeah," he said, "it was all right. We were on this small Navy transport ship." I said, "What'd you transport?" He said, "God, if I know, darned if I know. We weren't really." I said, "Well, okay, all right." Now he said, "Supplies. Yeah, what? Everyone, we need the sailors at other bases needed other things, toilet paper, all sorts. We were hauling supplies." Okay. So he says, "But you know what happened?" He said, "We're in this convoy heading for Pearl out of Los Angeles or San Diego." And he said, all of a sudden, our ship stopped, the one I'm on. I said, what, you break it?" He says, "I didn't break it." He said, "It broke on its own." He says, "God." He said the drive shaft to the propellers went out. I said, "Well, that's not good." He says, "No, we were sitting there dead in the water. The convoy left us behind. They said we'd be okay." It was peacetime. There was war clouds, all over the place, all over the world. Gosh, he said Japan, Germany, they're all fighting like crazy. Italy. He says, "But we were sitting sitting in the middle of the ocean, the doggone Pacific, while our machinist mates were fixing the drive shaft to the propellers. I said, man, how long it take? He said, a day or so. He says we were about 24 hours behind our convoy, and there was no way we were going to catch up. We were slowing them down anyway. I guess the bad drive shaft. I said, yeah, I guess. He said, anyway, so we're heading. And he said we had to do radio silence because you had to kind of keep quiet where you were. As I understand it, that's the case. And he said, so I don't know. We eventually sighted Hawaii, and he said, gosh, we saw this smoke coming out of Pearl Harbor. He said, I couldn't believe it. And he says that the captain radios in. He's having trouble getting an answer. And he finally, I guess he does, and he comes over the loudspeaker and says, Pearl Harbor, just a few hours ago, was under attack. He said the Japanese attacked and evidently really did some awful damage. And we're all lining the rail looking. We can see the smoke. I said, were the planes still there? The attacking the Japanese? He says, no, they're gone. But he said he said, oh my God, he says, you should have seen, there was explosions going on as we approach. No one's waving us off. They're just we of course had the flag up and all that. They knew we were, and we signaled we were friendly, and we started coming into Pearl. And he said it wasn't. Oh my God, he says, it was the worst thing I think I ever saw in my life. He said well, there were people in the water. They were dead. There were people in the water who were wounded. He said, God, we look, and there's a ship upside down, and someone said that was the battleship Arizona. There were people on the up on the bottom of it, the keel, trying to cut in through the steel to they thought people might be still in there. He said, oh gosh, there was battleships that were, he said they looked more like Swiss cheese. He said it was awful. And he said all around people are running, boats are running here and there trying to pick up folks out of the water, and there were fires breaking out, explosions. He said, of course, we're coming through, heading for our pier, and there's, we're afraid anything you touch could be a bomb, maybe an unexploded bomb. And he said, and I said, well, worse than that, the Japanese could be coming back. He said the thought crossed our mind, and we're like about the only we're about the only ship that looks. I mean, we'd be a target. We're just a steamer, basically, a cargo ship, but we could be. Yeah, they could come after us. What? Oh, my gosh. And he said, we looked over. You could see the airfield. There was all these fires, no airplanes. He said, the one thing we didn't see, there were no carriers. I said, well, I think I heard they went out to sea before the attack. By sheer chance, they were out at sea doing maneuvers. He said, well, it was a good thing. He said, because that's what held the line afterwards, was all those carriers. Battleships eventually came back, but boy, he said, it took a while to fix them. And I guess Jackson really, it's funny, when he talked about it, he really got this look of that it was almost something painful. I'm sure it was something very painful to talk about. Somehow I got it out of him, I guess, by asking my questions. But he said he never saw anything like it in his life, and he prayed he never saw anything like it again. He said it was an awful, awful attack, and just so devastating. He said, the other thing was, we were like I think I said earlier. He said we were afraid they would be coming back, and what do we do? Or land forces. We were really shot. And he said, thank heaven, he said they didn't. But man, it would have been tough if they had. So, it was, if most of the people from World War II, we're losing them right and left now. But if you see any of them, boy, it wouldn't hurt to shake their hand and say thank you. Any veteran, of course, but especially World War II, especially tomorrow being, I'm doing this on the 6th of December, so this is the day before, but you know what I mean. So, my gosh, I tell you. And Jackson, yeah, I guess he spent the rest of the year, rest of the war on that steamer going back and forth. And frankly, that wasn't no picnic run either. He said a lot of times he was thinking, saw a torpedo or something. He said, we're lucky we got through it alive. And, he wasn't always hauling envelopes, he said. So I don't know. I thought you might like that story. Again, God bless our soldiers and those who serve. Our soldiers, police, fire, rescue, they're really special people. You might want to thank them if you get a chance. God bless, friends. We'll see you later. Thank you.